The wind had picked up, tugging at their clothes and pushing them onward. It was no longer a force of nature to fight against, it had become a companion quite constant, urging them toward whatever lay ahead. The valley opened wider as they descended, the mountains looming closer now, their jagged peaks piercing the sky. The path was no longer as clear as it once had been. No more well-worn trails or footsteps to follow. They were alone now, beyond the familiar, into the unknown. But with each step, the weight of the shard seemed lighter, and the world around them felt charged, as if the earth itself was holding its breath. Lyra's thoughts wandered to the days before, the days of uncertainty and fear. She had often wondered if they were chasing a myth, a wild goose chase built on old stories and fading memories. But now, standing on the edge of this ancient land, she understood. It wasn't about finding what was lost, it was about understanding what had been left behind and finding the courage to rebuild from it. Ashen walked beside her, his usual stoic demeanor softened, as if he had found something within himself that he had long buried. The doubts that had plagued him for so long were quieter now. There was a peace in him, though it was tentative, like the first light of dawn breaking through the dark. Ethan, ever watchful, kept his eyes scanning the horizon, his senses sharpened by years of survival. He had seen the worst of the world, but this felt different. The past was no longer a shadow, it was a guide, a reminder of where they had been, but not where they were going. He had learned that sometimes the only way forward was to leave behind the things that kept you tethered to the past. The mountains stood before them now, silent sentinels, guarding whatever secrets they held. No one spoke for a long time. There was nothing left to say. At last, Lyra stopped at the foot of a great stone outcrop, the first real barrier they had encountered. The path forked here, splitting into two directions. One led further into the mountains, disappearing into a pass shadowed by towering cliffs. The other veered off to the right, toward a narrow gap in the rocks, where the wind held like a distant cry. "This is it," Lyra said, her voice steady, but filled with an emotion that neither of the men could quite place. "This is where we find what we've been searching for." Ashen studied the paths, his eyes lingering on the narrow gap in the rocks. "It's not much of a choice, is it?" "No," Lyra agreed, "but it's the one we have." Without another word, she took a step forward, the shard still tucked securely at her side. Ethan followed immediately, his hand once again resting on the hilt of his knife, ready for whatever came next. Ashen hesitated, looking back one last time at the valley behind them. The world they had known, the lives they had lived, it all felt so far away now, like something forgotten, lost to time. But then, with a deep breath, he moved forward, closing the gap between them. As they stepped into the narrow pass, the wind howled louder, the sound reverberating off the stone walls. It was almost like a voice, calling to them or perhaps warning them. But they were beyond fear now, beyond the edge of the map, beyond the things that had once held them back. The path stretched on, a dark and twisting path, but with each step, the air grew thicker with purpose. The shard vibrated against Lyra's side, almost as if it were alive, urging them onward. And then, as the darkness of the pass enveloped them, they saw a glimmer of light ahead. Faint but undeniable, the end of the journey. They were not just walking toward answers, they realized. They were walking toward creation, toward the possibility of something new, something born from all the brokenness, the uncertainty, and the courage they had gathered along the way. In the silence, as the mountains whispered their secrets, they finally understood the map had always been incomplete, but they were the ones who would finish it.